I'm Natasha Chilingarian.
I'm Michael Ogden. This is Shared Accounts with CU Time, sponsored this month by Mambu. Thanks, Mambu. All right, we like to play games on this show, and I want to try a new one with Natasha and Producer Zach. I'm calling it Name That Hum. Okay?
Okay.
Here's how it goes. I thought of this the other day. Now, we're each going to take turns humming a song, and then the other two have to try and guess the song we're humming. Right? Make sense?
Okay. Oh boy.
Makes sense.
Zach, got it? All
Humming
right.
skills put to the test. Yeah.
Right. Heads up. As far as I know, Zach, your wife is the only professional singer, like even tangentially related to this podcast.
True.
That means nothing for me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the three of us are not professional, any of that, but your wife is.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go first to let you two kind of think, kind of lock in. Okay. Oh, God. Which one am I going to do here? I had three choices. Okay. Here I go. You guys ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's hear it.
Okay. I'm going to start at the beginning of the song.
Okay.
Not the chorus.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, I think I got it.
Okay, say it.
Is it I Want You Ought to Know?
You nailed it.
Yes!
Oh, wow.
I don't know how I got that. Yes, Alanis Morissette, little 90s angst. Yeah, I love that song.
Okay. So, all right.
Good
That's how
job.
it works. Thank you. Good job guessing. Who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go next.
Okay.
Okay. I know. I had a few options in my head. I think I'm going to go with, because there was one that I just don't think you're going to get it. Like, it's just really hard to hum.
That's fine.
Okay, I found one.
Okay.
All right. This is the chorus. Okay. And then if you don't get it, I'll go like to the beginning and see if that helps.
Okay.
Okay, so God.
I want to rock and roll all night.
Yes, that's.
Oh my gosh!
And there's actually a little CU Times connection with that song, because I don't know if you remember, Michael, we did this feature story. Well, it was actually another reporter who wrote it about hidden talents from credit union people.
And wrote this story.
Tina Oram wrote it, and one of the people profiled in it had a Kiss cover band that they played in. It is so hysterical. And I love it because there's a few people in the credit union world that we find out that they're actually like secretly musicians.
Yeah.
And on the pod, like one was, do you remember Jeff Harper from Orange County's credit union was like was pursuing it like professionally. And then he sent us a video of himself performing and it was so awesome. So yeah, I thought I'd pick a song that has some kind of a little tie-in.
That was
so
great.
There you
That's
go.
A great pick.
There you go.
All right, Producer Zach, you are next.
Okay, so I'm just going to do the recognizable guitar line from the song.
Okay.
Oh, Beat It, Michael Jackson.
Wrong. It's actually Eat It by Weird Al.
Oh, damn it.
Okay. I don't even know that song.
Parodies were in play. Oh, you're right.
Well, you didn't. It could be. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a classic song, but like a parody of a song. It could have been a theme song for a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, there's anywhere. This could have gone in anywhere.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to take us too off track, but are you implying Weird Al can't be considered a classic?
No. Then Zach, right back at you. What's this song?
Another One Rides the Bus.
Good job. Yeah. That's the parody version of Another One Bites the Dust.
I don't think there's a difference there, but yeah.
There isn't.
Same as mine. It's literally the same music.
Jeez. That's really
I just wanted to be an ass to Michael.
Oh, no, that's perfect. I really, really love this. Okay, a quick question. Did you two like that game?
I did.
I did like it. Yeah, I would be up for it again.
Okay. We will.
So it could be another, I think, like Mad Libs, it can be in the rotation, perhaps.
I think it's a wonderful idea. And in fact, we can do like really filthy songs because we're not saying the words.
They're exactly, yeah.
I don't know if we'll do that. But yeah, we could do TV theme songs. We could have different, categories.
Yeah.
For this. Okay. You two, thank you so much for playing. I love doing that. Everybody else, I wish you could have played with us. But either way, welcome to Shared Accounts with CU Times. Coming up, we are chatting with Amber Harsin, Mambu's Vice President of Credit Unions. She has a lot to say about core systems, everything going on with Mambu. It was very, very interesting. We get to learn a lot about her and her credit union journey to Mambu. But first up, we got to take a break from the week. Check in with Natasha. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Em. How's it going? Are we just going to hum the rest of the episode?
I really liked it. So Can I ask, what was your second choice? Did you have a second choice song?
Yeah. So, well, this was actually what I first thought of, and then I changed my mind this morning. So my first original idea, I was going to hum the song Blurred Lines by Robin Thicke.
How would you do that?
And I'm like, that's just too hard. And you're probably not going to guess it, but I had kind of a funny story to go along with it. Cause that was like when you first brought this up and you said, oh, we're going to hum a song. I was like, what am I going to hum? And then that song popped in my head because I recently heard it played in like the weirdest place. It's like when you hear a song and it's like in a setting where it just makes no sense.
Okay. Like a church?
Yeah, church would be a good one. But so in the town I live in, there's like a trash facility that you have to take all your trash to. You're not allowed to leave it outside because there's so many bears around. They'll get into it. So there's this local like trash facility, and I'll go like twice a week because you can't leave trash, it'll attract wildlife. So I usually go there like at least twice a week to take trash. And there's always like someone's got a playlist like blasting like at the person who kind of monitors the place to make sure people are like putting their trash and recycling in the right spots. It's like some, an older guy who lives here in the community. It's mostly like retired people in the community. So so imagine like just a bunch of senior citizens sorting through their trash and recycling, and then that song is playing. It was so weird, and I was just giggling the whole way home. I'm like, why would they be playing that as part of their like playlist? And it's not the radio because there's no commercials. It's like a playlist of songs.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know, kind of a strange story,
so
but
save it for next time. And but I want to ask Zach, did you have a backup song you were thinking?
Not really.
No. Okay. Your go-to is Weird Al, and that's it.
No, I wanted to do something funny to mess with you and did not have a backup.
Okay.
Maybe would have panicked and done something instantly recognizable like Smoke on the Water.
Or like Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love your choice. That was really, really fun. So yeah, I'll keep it on the list, guys.
Really fun.
All right. And what have you been watching this past week? We haven't talked a bit about this.
We haven't talked a bit about this. I did want to mention a movie that I did see. And so this was a movie that you watched and brought up on a recent pod as like a major favorite of yours from the year, Sinners.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I really, really thought it was good. Really enjoyed it. Really well done. I think I only gave it like 3 or 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, though. I know you gave it the full 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just because I think like it didn't really... Like for me personally, it didn't really like emotionally do anything major for me. But I could like while I was watching it, it was like, oh yeah, I could see why this is like a contender for top movie of the year. Definitely.
Ryan Coogler, what he did with it, again, was just so interesting. But I will say, and I listened to this week a 2.5+ hour podcast just about Sinners.
Oh, really?
And it was with 3 people, and they were kind of understanding why there's kind of half absolutely, or this is the best movie, this is so good, and for all these reasons. And then there's another half that's like, it was really good.
Oh, yeah, okay. That was kind of my reaction, was like, oh, okay, yeah, all right.
It seems to come down to a kind of a music situation.
Right.
It seems. I don't know. But I'm glad you saw it. And, it was a long movie, I know.
It was long. Yeah. I had to watch it over 2 days, actually, because I was like, all right, I need a break here. Yeah, I think that makes sense with the music perspective. There was, because it's also one of those movies where after you see it, you want to go like look up think pieces about it and
Mhm.
read about it. And
Yeah.
so that's what I did. And there was like a black female musician, not like a majorly known, but like lesser known. She was like posting about it and saying how she was so emotionally affected because it brought up things that affected her in the music
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure that was definitely, yeah, it's not someone who's not really a music
Uh-huh.
person. It didn't really do that, but really interesting, really great. I mean, the music was great, visually very striking, historically, I guess it was like very historically accurate, which was
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah. And another funny thing about it,
Mhm.
Michael B. Jordan, the two Michael B. Jordans,
Right.
someone wrote a short review on Letterboxd and it said something like, I really appreciated being able to see Michael A. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan, like A and B. It's like,
Very
it's funny.
funny. That's
Yeah.
cute.
Anyway.
I like it.
Okay, what about you? Any new
I
watches to bring up?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
over kind of Labor Day weekend, I blew
Mm.
through four movies. One I'll bring up. I finally got around to watching. Came out last year. The First Omen
Oh,
came out in
okay.
2024. So it's a prequel
Oh.
to The Omen, which was
Hmm.
the first Omen in 1970. What, one, two? I thought it was pretty good. Had a
It's
really
like a
good
horror,
time.
right? Yes, okay.
Very
Yeah.
pretty graphic elements at times, but I thought initially, like the first half of the movie, truly caught kind of the look and the vibe of the original Omen, which was interesting, like a real 70s look
Okay. Yeah.
to
Oh,
it,
yeah.
which I really enjoyed. But then it kind of like got more away from that as the movie
Hmm.
went on. Anyway, had a good time.
Okay.
Really gross at that moment, but I thought it was pretty fun. I had a good time with it. I would recommend the first
Nice.
Omen.
Okay.
Where is it streaming? It is
Well,
on
yeah.
Amazon.
I know. I have to get back into like going through older horror. Like,
Hmm.
believe it or not, like I don't think I've ever watched like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or any like real classic like old horror. It's just like
Uh,
I don't know, never got
I
around to it,
just
but
I
yeah,
rewatched it like a month ago or 2 months ago.
yeah,
Watch it. It's really crazy.
yeah. Okay.
And it's a really famous. The last scene of the movie is a very famous GIF. I mean,
Ah,
literally the last second of the movie. I
okay,
won't spoil it.
okay. Please don't. Yeah. All right.
Okay,
I will have to put that on my to-do list. For
please.
sure. Love those like old horror, sometimes scarier than new horror, just the fact that they are
Hey man,
old and
October's coming.
different look. Very
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the actual interview with Amber. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. One thing that stood out to me is just how international her company is, Mambu.
Hmm.
They have offices in, she said, like Amsterdam, Dubai, Singapore, Romania. And it also sounds like the scope of their work really involves the credit union movement and kind of getting case studies and,
Hmm.
examples of success stories from, outside of the US, which is really unique.
Yeah, she does give an example. Where was it out of, Natasha? I knew we had that. Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
Yeah, it was really
That
interesting.
was really interesting. Yeah, she says she goes to Canada quite a bit, works
Hmm.
with CUSOs there. So yeah, it's kind of like this expansive international world that she
Yeah.
really brings in. So that's really fun. And another interesting case study she talked about was a client that Mambu worked with that helped out low income women entrepreneurs. And I
Mm.
thought that was a really cool story and something that credit unions could kind of learn from. Yeah, very interesting talking about the work Mambu does. Obviously, of course, we had our fun post conversation with her. One thing that's really fun that you'll have to stay tuned for is she actually confesses to something kind of naughty that she did as a 15-year-old that led to a big life lesson that was taught to her by her father. So
It's a good
it's a
story.
good story. Yeah,
It
you'll
is.
definitely want to stick around for that. We have all of that coming up next.
Hey everybody, this episode is sponsored by Mambu, the world's only true SaaS cloud core banking platform. Now in the US, Mambu's composable approach works like building blocks, independent components that can be assembled to meet your goals and your members' needs. This gives credit unions agility to integrate with fintechs, freedom from vendor lock-in, and control to roll out new products on your terms. Because in today's world, standing means falling behind. So true. With Mambu, you can deliver the solutions your members deserve. Learn more at mambu.com. That is MAMBU.com. Thanks, Mambu.
Joining us in the virtual studio today is Amber Harsin, Vice President of Credit Unions for Mambu. Hey, Amber, welcome to Shared Accounts.
Thank you, Natasha. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. So, Amber, where are you located today?
I personally am located just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. I get to work from home, so I'm looking at some lovely, crisp fall air in the Utah mountains.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful part of the country.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Well, Amber, let's just kind of start off here. Something specific we really wanted to ask you about, just right on the top here. We know you've spoken about the challenge that credit unions face when ambition meets architecture. So basically, you've stated that they may be getting stuck at the intersection of ambition and architecture, which we thought was really interesting. Was just wondering, how could you just kind of explain this concept a little bit, and how does it shape your approach to leadership and navigating change in leading an organization?
Yeah, absolutely. That phrase came out of a prior conversation pretty organically, but it stuck since and I think resonated with both myself and a lot of people within the credit union movement. And what it really is meant to encompass is the desire that credit unions have to serve their communities, both in our very traditional manners, meaning in branch, through our call centers, and more of those human interactions, but also our ability to serve communities along similar lines from a digital perspective. And there's tension there for us in the credit union space, and has been for a really long time, where that ambition and that desire to be digital and human, in the same breath, across every channel, has been really met sometimes with a lot of friction when it comes to the architecture of our technology stacks and some of the limitations that can come from legacy systems that have served us in other ways really well for a long time, but maybe haven't quite kept up with the pace of digitization that kind of create that push-pull scenario where credit unions find themselves feeling a little bit stuck at that intersection. So when we've talked about that from the perspective of like, okay, well, what should we do about that? Like when we reach that point where we are at that crossroads, where our ambition as a financial institution is getting hindered, then how do we consider that it's possibly time to make really strategic but large and viewed as risky changes to create an environment and a foundation within our technical architectures that break us free of those roadmaps? And that's where I think you have to consider the leading through the change when you're coming up on that point, or you've acknowledged that you're reaching that point in assessing what it is you want to deliver to your members today. Like, who's your membership today? And what is it that they're demanding from you, or what is it that they're needing from you? And then what is it that your future members are going to need from you too?
You were very interesting to research for this interview because you've been on a number of panels and all of this. And I found that quote pretty early on. And that's why this is kind of the first question. And really setting the scene for the rest of our discussion today. And thank you for kind of setting that view.
Yeah, absolutely.
In your approach, because as somebody who has risen, and you have a really interesting history, Amber, you've risen through the roles in both QSO leadership, Prodigy.
Yes.
Yeah, you were CEO of Prodigy. So, and now VP at Mambu. How have your core leadership values kind of evolved, especially transitioning from cooperative settings to a global fintech?
Oh, that's a great question. And I have to take it one step of my career further back. And that is the first 16 years of my career were spent working at credit unions in the state of Utah, which is really where my core tenets were formed. it's interesting that you guys picked that question to point out the difference between a cooperative and a CUSO, and then the potential ways that those can be influenced by moving to more of a global organization. And I would say it is slightly different. However, my core tenets have always been collaboration with your community, giving back, finding ways to enable through services or technology or skill, a way to enable financial institutions and consumers to find financial equity. So for me, I was already seeking out relationships that would help reinforce those particular core tenet and values for myself. And what I found with moving to a global fintech is that not only with credit unions do we get to do that, but we can expand that into other parts of the world and service them through different avenues like neobanks or fintechs, where maybe the credit union infrastructure isn't as big or isn't even really established. So I think I've been able to maintain a lot of the ways my actual values without having to compromise them. But you do have to switch your mindset a little bit, because QSOs aren't always necessarily going to be as profit driven. Things like that. You do have to keep that a little bit more top of mind in a global environment. But there's benefits to that as well, in terms of that when we are focusing on profitability, that does create a lot more freedom to put back into R&D. And that R&D then filters back down ultimately to your own customer base in tools and features that are going to further enable them to service those communities that they're looking for. So it's a lovely circular symbiotic relationship across the board that way.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Nice. Well, yeah, it sounds like it's an interesting path you've been on, Amber. And like Michael said, you were definitely interesting to research, just, in terms of your participation on various panels and things like that. Another quote that stood out to us that we wanted to bring up and get into a little bit deeper is, you urged credit unions to, quote, be bold and break up with anyone you don't trust. I really like that quote. I think it'd be a good one to carry through your whole life, But in terms of credit unions, obviously it makes sense as well, kind of emphasizing partnership over complacency.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that mantra? How does that influence how you build and lead teams, both internally at Mambu and externally with partners?
Yeah, it's a really important element to me to be able to establish as much trust as possible with those that we're doing business with, whether that be colleagues, partners, or customers. So for me, in terms of building and leading teams, it definitely is going to start with, who are we hiring? I definitely look for people who, in my case, I am a credit union junkie just through life, right? I was kind of born into my career that way. So it's really embedded in my DNA. So I look for people who also tend to have core values that align with credit union core values to be part of the teams that we are going to serve. We can teach people technical skills all day long. You can't necessarily teach that heart. You can't necessarily teach people that kind of commitment to that financial community give back, financial access, sort of love and passion. So definitely take that forward with me in ways that help us have mutual and shared understanding of what it means to be a credit union member, what it means to be a credit union employee who serves members and communities, to then layer that into the professional engagements that we're going to have with them. And then in terms of partners, I'm going to look at it the same way, right? I'm going to value out of that transparency from a partner. If we're going to enter into a relationship, we're going to want that to be authentic. We're going to want it to be candid. We're going to want it to be a scenario where we can admit when we're wrong mutually, if we've done something wrong. That happens, right? Everybody's human and mistakes happen and software breaks. And sometimes your speakers don't work when you're trying to join a meeting, or there's a bug. Those are all things that are going to happen in the world that we live in today. But when we can practice that really, not even radical candor, but just genuine candor with one another, I think that it makes it a lot easier for us all to collaborate and come up with solutions to problems, big and small.
I really like radical candor. That's a really cool phrase. I like that. So again, in our research, Amber, I was digging around looking at some case studies involving Mambu, and there was an interesting case down in Brazil, which saw membership growth and develop over hundreds and hundreds of products after implementing some open banking. And can you tell us a bit about what happened down there and what lessons you all at Mambu have taken from that success story that are relevant to U.S. credit unions today?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say Brazil is one of many stories for Mambu.
Yeah.
The Brazilian banking network in general, particularly around credit unions, are very collaborative, and they practice bringing that collaborative nature into practice across the board. So they're very good at pooling infrastructure to unlock scale. They're very good at pooling infrastructure and resources to accelerate modernization. And we've seen that really successfully play out in other countries that Mambu provides services to as well. We have a CUSO in Canada that has done some similar work as the Brazilian financial institutions have done, where you have a pool of what would be considered typically smaller FIs coming together and taking concrete actions to be able to bring products and features to those products to market much, much faster and digitize them in ways that make them more accessible to more people within their community so that they can reach some of those underserved parties as well. So some of the things I think we've been able to learn from those engagements is really some strategies to help financial institution evaluate whether they should enter into shared models, kind of what's the ROI and feasibility of that compared to trying to do it by themselves. Some strategies around how a couple peer financial institutions might gather together and run pilots to make sure it works, right? Kind of run like a POC essentially to test out this theory before they all invest hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in actual costs and time and energy, and be able to create different playbooks for them to use when it comes to compliance or best practices for how to cut over different technology solutions within your tech stack in a less risky way or a safer way, less disruptive way to your members. And then I think the next big one that really has come out of some of those lessons that we've really seen is treating some of the things that were once trends, like open banking, as a cooperation multiplier and not just another compliance checkbox or not just another like trend that might change and pass. Some of the adoption around what were once trends like open banking and APIs really have proven globally to be multipliers. They have helped financial cooperatives all over the world prioritize their must-haves. It's helped them build those must-haves quicker. It's helped them to be less vendor reliant, which is, in my opinion, a big deal when you talk about trusting your vendors. I also don't necessarily want to be reliant on my vendors. It's helped allow us to stand up a lot more sandboxing and test environments for credit unions and FIs to be ready to move in ways that don't disrupt their membership over time.
Can I ask you 3 quick follow-up questions on this? First question, were you surprised, because I'm learning more about Mambu right now besides the research, but what you're discussing, were you surprised at all that Mambu is as kind of collaborative as it sounds? Because it really sounds like you guys are much more collaborative than I even realized.
No, but I think my reason for that is unique. When, Mambu historically, they've approached new markets across the board, whether it be credit unions across the world or neobanks, whatever that is.
Okay.
They've done a really good job of embedding themselves as guests into those environments to learn first before they've just sort of jumped in and said like, hey, we're here. What would you like us to build for you? What I learned in my journey of joining them was how involved their executive team has been in just attending conferences for nothing other than to hear what different markets need and what are their pain points and how do they wish to engage with their technology partners to solve those pain points. And then they come back and decide, okay, we know what the problems are. Could we solve them? Could we help? And then build a business case from there.
That's cool.
Yeah, so not surprised in that regards. I think without that, yes, I think most of us wouldn't anticipate global organizations.
Right. That's why
very
I asked.
Collaborative.
Oh.
My second quick question is, do you travel down to Brazil and up to Canada?
I get to travel to Canada quite a bit to work with the CUSO there. I haven't yet had the opportunity to travel to South America in my short time at Mambu, but I'm looking forward to going down south. And we have some clients joining us in the African nation that I'm looking forward to getting to meet with, as well as some European credit unions too. So
okay.
Nice.
Well, I was just going to say, go down to Brazil in January?
Yes.
If you're in Utah.
January is cold and
Yeah.
gray. Usually our snow's starting to melt off and it's not quite as winter
No, it's kind of
wonderland
crummy out there at
here.
that point.
So, yep.
Okay, that was it. Those are my
Great time.
follow-up questions. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, I just find it really interesting and cool that you can bring this international perspective, and that's unique, I think, for the industry,
Mhm.
is having someone in this area that really brings that like well-rounded view. So
I
that's really
agree.
cool.
No, I was just going to say that's actually what was really exciting to me in joining Mambu is,
Yeah.
I've been in an environment my whole career where all the companies I've worked for and primarily worked with as partners are deeply entrenched and dedicated to the credit union movement. But sometimes that creates tunnel vision for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of coming to a global provider that not only services credit unions, but a lot of neobanks, a lot of digital only banks, and a lot of non traditional FIs is that there's so many inspirations to take from some of the things that are being done in other parts of the world
Yeah.
or slightly different verticals that have the ability to impact your credit union's product suite.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, very interesting. I think we get that perspective sometimes through like the World Council of Credit Unions, which I'm
Yes.
sure you're aware of, obviously. But yeah, other than that, it's really kind of
Mhm.
rare to hear that. So yeah, that's really cool. But let's move on. A different topic we also wanted to ask you about is just with small credit unions. Obviously they're resource constrained, but one thing that you have noted about them in the past is that collectively they manage over 90 billion in assets when they collaborate, which is a really interesting way to look at it. They're obviously small on their own, but when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, wow, that's a pretty big chunk there.
It is.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about just the small credit unions, and are any examples of where collaboration or CUSO-led initiatives with small credit unions really resulted in tangible success?
I mean, QSOs were invented to some degree to help solve this problem. So I
Mhm.
do think in the US we are leaders in this regards. But I think there are some specific success rates, and I want to point to League Data, which is a QSO in Canada that happens to work with Mambu. League Data has been around for a very long time, and they are owned by 37 credit unions in the Atlantic province.
Okay.
And they, 50 years ago, decided to pull all their resources together and create a little bit more than what we would know as a service bureau here in the US. But they decided to create their own shared tech team. So they have a CIO that
Mhm.
manages everything for these 37 credit unions. Their CTOs, they have all of their tech support. The League Data manages all of the technology for all 37 of these credit unions. And together they've pooled their resources over the years to create that scale to be able to purchase software solutions that none of them independently could have afforded. And in many cases, may not have even had the technical aptitude to deploy and manage long term. So they've really, really used that to their advantage over the last 50 years. And 3 years ago, made the decision to completely modernize and start from the ground up rebuilding their tech stack again. And now what we're seeing as an outcome for them is credit unions that are maybe 20 million in assets with 2,500 members now have access to digital banking solutions and digital experiences for their members that rival the largest tier one banks in Canada,
Woo.
which they would not be able to do. And they're moving really fast. So we're now seeing them implementing new CRMs in months instead of a year.
Oh,
We're seeing
fantastic.
them, they're just moving so rapidly quick now that they've converted their tech stack. And to speak to that, they converted 37 credit unions in 15 months.
Jeez.
So they are just flying. And I
Mhm.
think that we're really going to see them continue to rise as an industry leader across the North American region, including here in the States.
Fantastic. Can we talk about some other wins for you all beyond open banking? As you look at it, Amber, from your vice president role, what's kind of a personal favorite success story where your platform, the Mambu, has driven kind of a game-changing outcome for a credit union?
Yeah, I have to take this story to a non credit union because I think it's
Okay.
so powerful, but it's credit union adjacent.
Sure.
My personal favorite success story for Mambu is with a nonprofit here in the United States. that isn't considered an alternative lender, but has modeled their operations off of a credit union.
Okay.
So they cooperatively pool resources and funds together to provide microloans to women entrepreneurs who live below the poverty line. And they were able, using the Mambu system, to increase their loan volume to $2 billion per year.
Whoa.
And they have invested into 142,000 female-owned, low-income entrepreneur businesses over the last 6 years. That impact to a community has a ripple effect into those local local cities that they work in. They operate in 19 cities across the U.S. That, to me, I think is such an inspirational story to say, wow, we've enabled them to be able to grant those loans in less than 15 minutes. We've allowed them to be able to track those women's attendance to financial education classes and business management classes in exchange for discounted rates on those loans.
Yeah.
And it's all automated. They check into their class on their phone.
Heck yeah.
Tracks that they were there. Once they hit a certain number of classes, they get an automatic discount on that loan.
That's amazing.
That's a use case that in credit unions could also be really, really cool.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a little applause there for that.
What's the name of that company, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, it's called Grameen America.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. Sounded
they're
familiar, but
outside of our kind of space, but they're really adjacent. That kind of makes them my
definitely. Yeah, no, that is very cool. And just the fact that it's helping a group that wouldn't have those opportunities, and then the ripple effect, like you said, I'm sure in the local economics and creating jobs and all that. That is awesome.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
That's another example of learning that and being able to bring it to my credit union friends, right? Like, hey, guys, we know this is possible. And maybe it would have been really manual in any other environment. It would have been really difficult to do. And it's difficult to scale if you're a larger credit union trying to offer those kind of programs. You can't scale a manual effort like that. But if it's as simple as a check-in on your application to track those things, like that they've completed financial education or whatever, you have that kind of interoperability enabled, then you can scale those types of programs and make them actually work for you from an ROI perspective.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something I think credit unions could take a page from.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on to just talking a little bit more about Mambu and kind of, what's coming and how you're looking at new products or services for the future. One thing that we've also noticed is that Mambu was an early mover in what you would call composable banking, which is letting institutions assemble engines, systems, and connectors like as needed. How is this philosophy of composable banking translating into your new product releases or roadmap priorities for credit unions going forward?
Yeah, I would say composability isn't really a roadmap item for us. It is really the tenet on how we're built. So the system itself is designed to allow credit unions to compose is becoming a bit of a buzzword, but I'm stuck with not really a better phrase at the moment, but to compose bespoke member experiences and bespoke staff experiences that meet the needs of the credit union. So when we think about how that philosophy shows up in our product roadmap, it is about creating options for credit unions to create anything they want, right? So for instance, we support over 30,000 different account configurations. Meaning, how do you accrue interest? When do you collect payments? How are fees assessed? How often does that payment come due? When is it marked as due? How many times can it change? Can it be discounted? All of those things that you can kind of control at like the really base layer of what your core system has to do. And then on top of those servicing rules is composing and orchestrating the workflows around them. What happens when that member comes in and engages with you for the first time, whether it be a digital channel or an in-branch channel? What path do they take based off certain event triggers, based off certain data points that belong to that member, and allowing credit unions to drive that themselves instead of being reliant on logic and workflows that were created for us 20 years ago and cannot be changed without a request directly back to your core provider. So it's really more about speed, getting products to market faster, and then also being able to scale them very quickly and change them quickly when your demands from your members or your staff and your operational needs change, without being locked in and tied to your core vendor having to do it for you and being on their roadmap, dealing with their security things, dealing with their tech debt. It's really putting radical autonomy back into the hands of the credit union.
Yeah, well, that's core system limitations are something we've heard over and over as a huge problem. So it sounds like it's just you're going the opposite of that, which is the best way to go. Be nimble and be agile. Yeah.
There's so much you can do now with low code and no code integration platforms, with API management tools that are low code and no code, that you don't need necessarily have to have anyway a team of developers in-house to manage those changes. They're getting built to be easier and easier. AI is coming in and making those things easier and easier for the majority of us to use. So kind of getting out of their way by saying the core doesn't need to own every single workflow, every single logical workflow piece. The core doesn't need to own making the decision of what that experience looks like. And maybe that experience was great 10 years ago. Yeah. But does that experience still apply today? Yes or no? And if it's a no and you've got to wait for them, then you're automatically disallowed from innovating at the speed that you want to.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and so just to follow up on that quickly, you obviously said that entire concept wasn't part of your product roadmap, but what would you say is top of mind for Mambu's next gen product roadmap looking ahead? You mentioned AI components, things like sandboxing, API first enhancements. What's on your radar right now for that product roadmap going forward?
That's really exciting to say or to talk about, because I would say that a lot of systems are trying to move towards API first and move towards sandboxing environments. And we started that way because we were built in the cloud, and we were built to be native to the cloud, and we were built API first from our inception. So we've already done that. So we get to move into now more of the AI environment. How are we going to use AI from a reporting and insights perspective? How are we going to be able to take all the data that comes into core banking systems and help credit unions make actionable decisions? For that, how can we help them configure new products faster? How can we help them use either the composable core systems mixed with some of the AI tools to decide to spin up a digital branch that's maybe only focused on their small business lending, or maybe only focused on their youth banking, that runs in a slightly different tech stack or on a different brand, even than maybe the brick and mortars. But we're definitely going down that AI insights and analytics path for certain. And then I would say secondary to that, specific to U.S. financial institutions and credit unions, is the idea of making the technology affordable enough to spin off speedboat deployments where you can launch greenfield products like, I'm going to use small business lending. That's a growing area for us and a lot of opportunity for credit unions, separate from your existing tech stack, so that you can kind of maybe move faster in creating digital experiences without having to rip and replace your existing core systems.
Okay. So last question in this main part of the interview, Amber, for credit union leaders evaluating their core or evaluating modern cores, what are some of the features they should be looking for in Mambu's platform, and how do those features directly support credit union's member first objectives?
I absolutely would say the cloud native API first composable architecture is tantamount to that, because what it gives you is an extremely high level of interoperability across all the platforms you're putting into your tech stack. It's not uncommon for us as credit unions to already have 20 vendor relationships with different software providers. How they interoperate and exchange data together, how and when they touch each other through that member journey, understanding how much of that you can control within the systems that you are reviewing, I think is how you're going to identify your ability to respond and be member first, not necessarily be core system first. I can offer this because my core supports it, so I'm kind of stuck in that box, versus this is what I want to offer. Can I orchestrate that myself? And is it something I can buy myself? Is it something I can build myself? Or is it something that's native? And if it's native, how easy is it for me to make adjustments.
Good.
All right. All right. Well, yeah, we look forward to seeing what you all do next. All right, Amber, now let's move on to officially to part 2. And so this second part of our interview, it's all about you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so first thing we want to ask you, now I know you're currently in Salt Lake City. Is that also your hometown, or where did you grow up? Where are you originally from?
Yeah, I moved around a lot as a kid, but I claim Ogden, Utah as my hometown.
Oh.
It's probably where we collectively spent the most amount of time.
Okay.
Which is about 35 minutes north of Salt Lake City and is where the transcontinental railroads met back in the day.
Correct.
Oh,
So I did not know this. And Amber, as you know, my last name's Ogden. And
I
You
told you
should know this, right? It's your town.
Totally. Well, before we started recording, I told you, Amber, my brother, Shannon Ogden, he was an anchor there at KSL in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at the time, it was in 1999, 2000, they thought it would be funny for him to do the New Year's Eve show from Ogden, Utah.
From probably Union Station in Ogden.
Probably. I don't remember.
Yep.
He was just like, ugh, I really hate this joke. But anyway, he rang in the new year from Ogden, Utah that year, I remember.
Oh, fun. That was kind of corny for him, I'm sure. But we as Ogdenites appreciate that we got to celebrate his last name.
Oh, wait, they call them Ogdenites? I didn't know that.
Yes.
I honestly, I would have thought Ogdonians or...
That's good too, but I have not heard that one. But that is good. I like that one.
I always find that interesting what every city, what they call themselves is always, there's a way to make the word into either an ite or an Angelino for Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be good. Ogdenino.
That was a little bit of a tongue twister. I don't think that one's going to stick.
No. Okay, sorry. We'll get off of that.
Real quick, just to follow up on that. So for the Ogdenites, what would be like the best place to eat in Ogden or the best food? Is there like a signature restaurant or a dish or anything like that?
We don't we have a couple quirky little restaurants that I would recommend, but I would say there is a long-standing classic where the ladies brunch type location called Rainbow Gardens, which is at the mouth of the Ogden Canyon, sitting on the river. It's beautiful, has a lovely little gift shop and fun things, but they have a famous dish called Mormon muffins. Celebrating our history here.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
That if you slather them in honey butter are one of the most delightful treats you can have while you're here.
I love honey butter so much.
Oh, no.
That sounds
I'm just picturing
delicious.
groups of like very well-dressed, beautiful Mormon wives gathering for brunch. Is like what I'm picturing. It sounds like a classy place.
The elderly ladies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Specific question though, are these corn muffins?
No, they're like a bran muffin.
Like a bran muffin.
Closest. Okay. Yeah, but we love sugar in Utah, so they're very sweet.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
Very nice.
Okay. I love honey butter. Okay, Amber, growing up in Ogden, what was the first paying job you had?
My first paying job was that I was hired to babysit my siblings for the summer.
Okay.
I was summarily fired from that job for sneaking out the window to go to a party.
I love this.
For setting a poor example to my younger siblings, but that was my first paying job and my dad fired me.
How old were you then?
15.
Okay.
14, 15.
14, 15, you snuck out.
Incoming freshman to high school, I think. Yeah, 14.
Incredible. Honestly, I love it.
I love that.
He's apologized to me since, but he did fire me from that job.
Let me ask you something. Was it worth it?
Probably not. There's more to that story. I'm not quite willing to share.
Oh, no. We do not need to go into
understand.
that.
But maybe at a conference, Mike, over a beverage.
Oh, sure, that's fine.
Yes. That would be
totally
perfect.
fine. As teenagers, we're so stupid, and I love it sometimes.
It was worth it in the long run for my life lesson. And I wrote for my dad's 50th birthday, we made him like a coupon book full of thank yous. And I actually told him thank you for firing me. And then he felt really terrible. And he's like, you don't know how much guilt I've felt over that these years. And I'm like, I actually took it as a life lesson. You're good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, my gosh.
Much. Oh, thanks for sharing
that story. Okay, so Amber, looking away from Utah and childhood and all that, have you done a lot of traveling in your life, like for work and for leisure?
Stateside, yes. International, no.
Okay. So let's say stateside. What would be your favorite city to visit outside of Utah?
It's a bit of a tie for me. I would go with either Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
or the upper half of the state of Michigan. Kind of anything,
Oh,
not
the
necessarily
UP.
UP. UP is great, but just actually on the mainland under the UP is also really beautiful. Around the area of Alpena
Yeah.
is the largest area. I have some property there near
That's
the lake
wonderful.
that is really, really great that we love to spend time in.
But let me ask you then really quick as a follow-up. How did you discover that?
Oh, this is another good story,
Oh,
Mike.
okay.
So I clicked on a Facebook ad for our local sheriff's department's auction of confiscated goods, which landed me on an auction site that happened to have land for sale.
Okay.
I clicked on that, found this property, said, well, it might be a scam, but it might not be a scam, and this is a great price. I'm going to go ahead and chance bidding on it.
Okay.
And then won that bid.
Oh my
And
gosh.
had 12 hours to figure out if it was an actual scam before my credit card was billed.
Right.
And it thankfully was not a scam. And I became the owner of property 26 hours away from me, 26-hour drive away from me,
Yeah.
that I had never seen.
Wow.
That's amazing. So do you go there every year or what?
Well, it is still currently all woods. So we have started going so we can clear the land
Okay.
to at some point put a small tiny home type situation on it. But we go visit around Michigan. We'll stay at an Airbnb and adventure around up there. And we do love it there.
Hey man, we got a lot of Michigan credit union friends if you want to stay with them or whatever. Michigan's a wonderful state.
It is.
And
It
it's
is.
very credit union friendly too.
It is. I yes, likewise have several credit union friends. They're in southern Michigan though, so they're a little bit away from where we are. But yeah, it's a great place. We love to visit there.
That's so good. Okay, I'm going back to Amber and Ogden. Amber, what was the first album, CD, cassette, or piece of music you ever bought or remember listening to?
The first one I can remember buying was a cassette tape of Paula Abdul's Cold Hearted Snake in the third grade.
Yeah.
Yay.
You're the first one to mention that album, I think.
I think the second one, which was not appropriate for third graders, was Pour Some Sugar on Me by, I think, Def Leppard, right? Maybe. And we used to put on concerts in the yard to both of those albums, our whole neighborhood.
Adorable.
It was great. It was a good time.
Nice.
You know what? Kids are awesome. I love their imaginations.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have no idea how filthy that song was. And so that's cute.
Neither of those songs we should have probably been singing at the top of our lungs at 8 years old on the street, but we were.
Yeah.
It was the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. No, the Grease soundtrack is the same way. It's incredible.
Exactly.
That's adorable. Thank you. Great answer.
Nice. All right, Amber, final question for today. We always end with this question with all of our guests. What was the last movie that you watched?
We took our senior age sons to see the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay.
Oh, well, what'd you think?
What'd you think?
They really liked it. That was both their favorites when they were younger. So it was a nice way to celebrate that they're crossing the threshold to adulthood.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's quite well done.
I've heard it's very, very good. Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds fun. Also love here, when you go to see a movie in the theater, I like it when we get that response as opposed to I was just scrolling on Netflix and whatever came up and I was just laying on the couch, and more of an event, we got to hold on to that and not let that experience die of going to the theater, right? Yeah.
Fantastic.
The last Netflix event was a show from high school that hasn't held up very well. So we'll just leave that where it dies.
Oh, okay.
We'll ask you when we're done recording. Okay. Great.
All right. Well, Amber Harsin, Mambu's Vice President of Credit Unions, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This was really, really fun.
Amber, thank you so much.
And to all of our listeners, thank you for downloading today's show. Please subscribe to Shared Accounts with CU Times and all of the normal podcast places. And please, please, please share the episodes with everyone you know, coworkers, relatives you like, relatives you don't like, dogs, you know the drill.
Absolutely. Feel free to rate us too. 5 stars only. We'd love it. Thank you so much to our sponsor, Mambu. Check them out at mambu.com. That is MAMBU.com. Thank you so much, Mambu. As always, thank you to our producer, Zach Nyheisel. Thanks, Zach. Join us again next week for a new episode of Shared Accounts with CU Times. Until then, thanks for listening.